Okay, folks, if I can have your attention, we'll get started this afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to the promotional and award ceremony for 2020 for the Burlington Police Department. As you're all well aware, we're not at the Paramount Theater. That's where we would normally be for an event of this type. And we recognize that this will not be a normal award ceremony, right? We're deep into the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're working diligently to comply with social distancing and follow all of the available safety protocols as we continue to the best of our ability to stay with our well-established customs for these events. There's a few alterations. We're not posting colors. That's already been done. There's no stage announcement in the Paramount. We don't have to do that. But we're running. We're wired up here. We're broadcasting on the FM radio to folks across the street and down the block, as well as with speakers here in the parking lot for the what will be a constant flow of friends and family into and out of the parking lot as we give the various awards and do the promotions. So we last came together as an organization in late 2019. We were at the Paramount, and we had every intention of being back there in April, and so we're significantly stalled from them, and we have a large number of awards to give. Some folks can't be here today, and what we've done is we've made the decision to announce those awards and celebrate them publicly in this ceremony, and then we'll privately, again in social distancing, we'll privately present those awards to those individuals who can't be here today. So that's a bit of the process that we'll go through. And normally at this point I would very graciously welcome a number of folks, right? So the most important group that I recognize every time are our retirees. We have many retirees who are still living locally, and they come out often to celebrate these successes. Sometimes they've been mentors to the promotees, they've been co-workers of the award recipients, and we recognize those retirees. So just kind of think about them and the fact that they're the bedrock of this organization. They've created the success over many years, and all of the new officers kind of stand on their shoulders, right? And our successes continue because of the work that they have done. Also, whether we're in the parking lot or at the Paramount, I get the pleasure of recognizing our elected officials. So Mayor Ian Baltutis is with us, Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Hikes is with us, Hardin Watkins, the city manager, is with us. So we appreciate all you being here very much. You know, the successes that we have, I see a couple of our fire guys here as well. So between fire and police, public safety are the two most expensive and most complex operations that we have in the city, and without the support of our council, we wouldn't be able to do the kinds of things that we do. And so that they take from their day to be here with us is very important to us, and we appreciate that greatly. Okay, so with those introductions out of the way, let's talk about the order of operations for us. We're going to do two promotions this afternoon first, and then we're going to move towards the awards after that. So for the promotions, most of you know this, we'll call up the staff member to be promoted, and they've selected someone to introduce them. In this case, Megan Coggins is our first promotion, and Lieutenant Chris Smith is going to introduce her. So they're going to come up, and then we'll do a badge pinning piece of that. And in most cases, the badge pinning in those photographs will be without a mask because it's a family member, a close family member that's with them. That will be just about the only exception for close interactions of people on the stage for that kind of activity. When I present awards, I'm going to have a mask off. The award recipient will stay 6 feet away outdoors, and we'll hold the plaque in between us, and so that's how we'll manage social distancing for those as well. So that's the order of operations. So with that, let's move to our first promotion. So Megan, why don't you come up, and Chris Smith, why don't you come up? Chris, this microphone to my right is yours to use. It's already on, and you can initiate your introduction of Megan to her promotion for sergeant.
Hello, like the chief said, my name is Lieutenant Chris Smith, and I have the pleasure of introducing Sergeant Megan Coggins. Of course, this is Megan Coggins. Megan has worked with the police department for about 9 years. She graduated BLET in 2011 from Davidson Community College. In June of 2011, she began her career with the Burlington Police Department. She worked in the patrol division for her first 4 years of an assignment, and she had the pleasure of working for me in the beginning of the summer. I already saw the, when she first started working, I saw the leadership skills that she had, and I knew she was going to be here very quickly. In 2015, she was able to come work for me again in A&E as an investigator, where she worked for 2 years. Then in her third year, she became a task force officer with the Drug Enforcement Agency, where she worked for the past 3 years up till July of 2020. And that was in 2017. During her time as a task force officer, she was able to dismantle a drug trafficking organization here based in Alamance County. And about a year or so ago, we arrested 28 individuals, seized 120 kilograms of cocaine, and seized about $1.2 million in cash. And she headed this entire investigation. While assigned in A&E, she also worked on she was very busy during this time in A&E. She worked on her degree, and she graduated from Western Carolina University with a degree in emergency management. Recently, she was transferred back to patrol in July of this year, and then she put in for the promotion process, and of course she got promoted, and that's why we're here today. She enjoys saltwater fishing. She loves to go to the beach, and she loves to go into the lake and spending time with her family, who is here in front of us. And I'd like to introduce Megan Coggins.
Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. Thank you for my family coming out today, and thank you for everyone here at Burlington that's pushed me and helped me get to where I'm at. I'm honored to be here and honored for this promotion, and look forward to continuing my career here at Burlington. Thank you.
Okay, our next promotion is Jennifer Nathalie, from sergeant to lieutenant. And as she comes forward, she'll have Mark Yancey, Lieutenant Mark Yancey is going to introduce her. And then her husband Mark, I think, is going to pin her badge. And I didn't get to do the introduction, but Megan was pinned by her father, Tim. So we appreciate that. Thanks for being here, folks.
So, I was asked to introduce Lieutenant Madhuri for her promotion for this year. I actually called her last night and was talking about things that I would say about her. And we were laughing because I was kind of making a joke about a combination of, if you ever watch movies, Wonder Woman and the X-Men. There's a character in X-Men called the Storm. And she has different colored hair, lightning bolts that come out. She does her talents, or uses her talents and abilities to protect people in society. Same thing with Wonder Woman. To date myself, the first Wonder Woman show that I would watch on TV, she spun around in circles, and that's when it came out with her costume on with bulletproof rings on her wrist. I think about Jennifer in a lot of different ways. She's a great friend. She's migrated through the department in a lot of different roles. She's worked for me as her supervisor probably for 8 or 9 years over the course of our careers together. From worked as a patrol officer, detective, an FTO, crisis negotiator, you name it, she's done it. Forensic interviewer through criminal investigations, the SRO sergeant, and done a lot of great things in most everywhere she's been over her career. So it's kind of exciting to see her get promoted, especially having worked with her so long, because we spend so much time. We actually spend more time with each other a lot of times as police officers than we do with our own families. So it's kind of cool to be able to introduce her today and congratulate her for getting promoted to lieutenant.
Good afternoon. Thank you everybody for being here today. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Yancey for his very kind words. I really want to thank all the many mentors I've had at the department who have helped challenge me and guide me to prepare me for this next step in my career. It's an honor to serve the citizens of Burlington. It's an honor to get to serve this police department, but it's a bigger honor for me to be able to serve my fellow officers. I would like to take one more opportunity to give the recognition that it deserves to my amazing husband, who continuously supports me in all that I do, and to my beautiful children who are unfortunately at school today and not able to be here. But their love and affection for me continues to give me the strength I need to keep doing what I'm doing, and I hope that I continue to be of service to this agency for many more years to come. Thank you all.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. While we transition to the next step, it has been 10 months since we did promotions, and we've had a number of other promotions, and we generally recognize those by having folks stand up in the audience and give them a round of applause. We can't quite do that today, but we've had 3 people promote to the rank of Master Police Officer. These employees have at least 7 years of experience, and they've achieved an advanced certificate from Standards and Training. The employees promoted to Master Police Officer in the last 3 years are Jack Boyles, Stephen Mabe, and Zach Scotton. We've also had 4 employees promote from Police Officer 1 to Police Officer 2. These employees have achieved an intermediate certificate from Standards and Training and must have at least 2 years of police experience. They are Denisha Hudson, Dylan Rose, Allie Davis, and Jennifer Ashworth. So if you see them in the next little bit, just give them a congratulations for their promotion. Hard work culmination there. So now we're going to transition and do the awards ceremony. We have a number of awards. They're not presented in any order other than what was the most convenient for us to get them to the stage. For some have 1 award, some have 2 or 3, so they're mixed up a little bit. But they all encompass about 5 classifications of awards. So I want to explain what those are so that friends and family recognize the significance of the various awards. The first award that we'll be giving today is an award of excellence, and it's provided for exceptional performance and may be given for a single event, a series of events, or performance on a particular project. These awards are given to officers and civilian professional staff below the rank of supervisor. Those are the folks who get an award of excellence. The next award that we give is called a Class A commendation. This is a life-saving award. It's an attempt to save or protect human life made through the direct action of an employee that is above and beyond the call of duty with no risk to personal safety, which differentiates it from an award of valor. The Class B commendation is through the direct action of an employee or in apprehending a serious felon or interrupting a serious felony, where someone is apprehended in the act or after the fact through the direct action of the employee, not rising to the level of a Class A commendation. And then the last lettered commendation is a Class C commendation through the direct action or performance of an employee for exceptional case clearance, which would not normally have been cleared, or police activity above and beyond that which is typically required. The award may also be given at the discretion of the police chief for the conduct of sworn or professional staff that would rise to the level of a professional commendation. The next award is an Excellence in Leadership Award. So the Excellence Award is for line staff, and then if you're of the rank of sergeant up through captain, you're eligible for the Excellence in Leadership Award, and it's provided for exceptional performance, and again may be given for a single event, series of events, or performance on a particular project. And then the last award that we'll be giving today is the Critical Incident Response Award. And this reads through the outstanding response of an employee as part of a team to an incident involving imminent personal danger, physical challenge, or extreme mental or emotional stress. And we see a lot of that in the police department, right, where we come together as a team and handle critical calls. And so we created this award about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, to recognize that extraordinary teamwork that takes place as we do our jobs in the field protecting our citizens. So I think we're set and ready, hopefully. The first award that we're going to give in person today is for Terrell Augustine. On November 23rd of last year, 2019, Terrell participated in a funeral for a fallen sheriff's deputy in New Hampton County. I think they traveled about 7 hours, maybe round trip, maybe it was even a little bit more than that, on a cold November day. And Officer Augustine stood in the rain to pay tribute to a fallen comrade. And so for his selfless conduct and dedication to professionalism, I'm very proud to present Officer Terrell Augustine with the Award of Excellence. Would you come forward, Terrell? Okay, and while we transition the next vehicle and the next award recipient, is Betsy here? Is she in the next car? Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next award is for Robert Vaughn, who won't be here today, but Betsy Holloman is here. So the two of them collaborated on a really remarkable call. On February 21st of 2020, TC, which stands for telecommunicator, TC lead Robert Vaughn received a 911 call from a female who wanted to order a pizza. Now, it's not entirely uncommon that people call 911 for non-911 reasons, right? So Vaughn tried to explain to her that she dialed 911 and she couldn't order a pizza by calling 911. Well, this citizen was particularly astute, and she was actually under duress. And so Robert Vaughn could hear in her voice that something wasn't going on appropriately. So he began to ask her yes and no questions. And he figured out that there was a person in her house armed with a gun. And so they very quickly entered that call, and then I think Betsy was on the other end of the communication sequence, so she saw the call pop up on her monitor, and initially the added comments weren't there, so she pushed it out as a normal call, and then as quickly as Robert Vaughn was able to update the information in the system, then Betsy Holloman again upgraded the response of the units, so the officers responded in emergency fashion to the house. There was another complication in that the house wasn't numbered appropriately, and so T.C. Holloman was able to look in the system and give them a house count and direct them into the house so that the officers could locate the scene and rescue the woman. And so, Betsy, why don't you come up? And for their activity, TC Lead Vaughn and TC Betsy Holloman, TC2, sorry, Betsy Holloman are receiving the Class C commendation. Okay. I think while we transition, we'll do Jeremy Coleman is receiving an award. Sergeant Jeremy Coleman has developed a strong connection with his direct reports. He leads with empathy, compassion, and is aware of what's going on in each of his employees' professional life. During the month of May of this year, Sergeant Coleman drafted annual evaluations for his team. Singularly, I can tell you that they were the best evaluations written in the entire police department. And so for that accomplishment, his evaluations were unique, personal, and truly guided officers to progress their careers. This level of interaction with the Burlington Police Department we strive to cultivate among all of our supervisors, but he did so at a high enough level that we're, again, later we will present him with this Excellence in Leadership Award for the way he's managed his team. Okay. All right, the folks are in place for the next award. So this award goes to a number of employees. Actually Detective Misha Braja, Officer Cody Westmoreland, Travis Pringle, Wesley Walker, Sergeant Mike Grusky, Sergeant Drew Garinger, and Lieutenant Baylog. So these employees in 2018 began a comprehensive citywide investigation into illegal gambling locations. We had our crime analysis unit conducted significant data gathering and research and discovered that these illegal gambling locations were at a significantly higher risk for violent crime, and that violent crime erupted across our community and resulted in at least one very violent murder and a number of other violent crimes. And so this organization, based on the skills and recommendation of the staff that I just identified, they began an investigation which spanned several months. We were able to voluntarily have 25 illegal gambling locations closed. One location decided that they would kind of buck the system a little bit, and they opened back up. The employees involved drafted a search warrant, executed that search warrant at the business. We seized 93 gambling machines, about $12,000 in U.S. currency, and arrested 4 individuals. Over the following months of investigative effort and work with the Alamance County District Attorney's Office, the primary defendants, 3 of them pled guilty, entered into agreements with the state that they would not conduct any other business anywhere in the state, so they couldn't just shift to Rockingham County and continue to operate illegal enterprises. They've been removed from the state of North Carolina based on the efforts of the Burlington Police Department. So Officer Cody Westmoreland is here. He'll be receiving a Class C award. Lieutenant Baylog will be receiving an Excellence in Leadership award. And let me do those 2 first. So Cody, why don't you come up for your award? Lieutenant Alan Baylog is next. Okay, the rest of those awards for those individuals will be delivered to them in private, and we'll capture pictures for them at that time and move through that. The next award, while we transition folks, is to crime scene investigator Tina Sauer. She can't be here today, but she's being recognized for her unwavering and dedicated service while investigating some of the most disturbing crime scenes. We went through a period of time where we were down to one crime scene investigator, and that was Tina. And so she was called for a series of very violent crimes, a triple homicide, some other cases that were particularly violent. And Tina's a trooper, so she processed every single one of those scenes, completes fantastic detailed police reports, and she's being honored with an award of excellence for that performance. We appreciate the work that she does. We've since hired an additional crime scene investigator, so she's got a little bit of help, and she can take a break and not necessarily come out, hopefully, on every single crime scene. All right, great. So I got Officer Stephen Mabe, I think, in the wings there, and he'll come forward. His award is Award of Excellence first. For September 30th of 2019, the Burlington Police Department and Fire Department responded to a shooting and homicide scene on Center Avenue. Officer Mabe had been working in the area for a while, and he had built rapport with the residents in the community. Based on those relationships that he had cultivated and built, he was able to obtain a video that allowed them to identify the suspect. Warrants were obtained and arrest was made. So for that performance, we're issuing him the Award of Excellence. Stephen? Okay, the next award is for Stephen also. I've asked him to stay on the stage, and then Officer Ethan Robinson is included in this also. During the month of September of 2019, the Community Engagement Team launched an investigation into a suspect involved in multiple armed robberies, motor theft, motor vehicle theft, drug sales, and possession of a firearm by a felon. He had also committed domestic assaults. The two officers developed a relationship with those close to the suspect, and then on September 18th of 2019, they were notified in real time of the suspect's location, and they learned that he was trying to leave the state because he knew the police were after him. They formulated a quick plan. They developed that plan and engaged other members of the team. They went to the area where they thought the suspect was. They made 2 attempted traffic stops, and then were ultimately able to locate the suspect. He fled. There was a foot chase. It was a particularly violent offender. He was able to be taken into custody without any further incident. I believe he fired all the bullets out of his weapon, is that right? So we had literally officers jumping for cover and hiding behind cars as this guy was shooting at the police. So they had a terrific investigation here, and then used their training to their benefit to survive this deadly force encounter without having to shoot and kill the suspect in this circumstance. So based on their quick response, the intelligence they gathered, the dangerousness of this circumstance, it's my pleasure to present both Stephen Mabe and Ethan Robinson with a Class B commendation. Ethan, do you want to come forward, please? Okay, the next award, Ethan Robinson is involved in the next award as well. And we'll also be talking about performance accomplished by Sergeant Tom Meisenbach, Detective Allie Davis, Officer Kristen Moore, Austin Andrews, Detective Alex Shockley, Officer Alex Wallace, and Sergeant Winston Meadows. This group of employees in January of 2020 were notified of a missing person. During the investigation, it was determined that the missing person had been observed in our city, and it was later found that the person had died, unfortunately. That individual was looking for a lost cell phone in a dumpster and was inadvertently hauled away in that dumpster, had been crushed, and died in the process. So we formed a team, and this group of individuals, with a number of external folks, and I'll talk about them in just a second, participated in what we would call a recovery operation. So they had to travel out of town to a regionalized landfill, and after 3 days of effort of searching that landfill in order to try to find the remains, they were able to do so. They were successful in that recovery. The 3-day search was intensive. It involved environmental and biological hurdles. Incredible amounts of protective equipment had to be worn and procedures followed. And they did an amazing job. And I know that Chief Long and I were, here at home talking with the mother and the family of the deceased, and they were so traumatized by this event. And the only thing they wanted in closure was to recover the remains of their daughter. And I think this team knew that, and they worked exceptionally hard, and they were able to do that. They were able to recover the remains. And our research shows that in less than 5% of cases around the country, when people's remains are disposed of in the flow of sanitation, most times they don't recover those, and we were able to do that. So I'm very proud of this group, internal and external. So the internal group did involve Ethan, so we'll present his award, and then the other folks will come up in sequence and get their awards also. So thank you all for your fantastic work in this case. Sergeant Meisenbach, will you come forward, please? Detective Allie Davis, you're next. And then Police Officer Kristen Moore, if you'll come forward, please.
Mask off, glasses off, put them on the table, or hold them in your right hand, whatever you want to put them. Okay, fair enough. Get that side up, this side. Congratulations.
As we were working this case and diving into the investigation as it took us to that landfill down in Montgomery County, we reached out through mutual aid and asked for some help. And Elon was the first group that stepped right up and said, yeah, absolutely, we'll come to your aid under that mutual aid agreement. And so Chief Kelly Blackwelder and Ed Peters from the Elon Police Department are going to come up next and receive awards from us, awards of excellence for their work, their assistance in that landfill search and recovery operation. So we very much appreciate their efforts. Detective Peters, if you'll come forward, please. As they step off, the next individuals are from Montgomery County. So we have Jamie Kearney, who's with the Sheriff's Office there, and Western Lineberry, and I believe he's with the Rescue Service. So Jamie Kearney first. This is Captain Jamie Kearney. I didn't want to reduce him in rank at all. And then Mr. Lineberry from the Rescue Service in Montgomery County. Okay, so let me make sure I'm covering everybody here. So the last group that came to RA that was quite unanticipated, but were fantastic help, is the Burlington Fire Department. So they sent a couple of folks with us. So we've got Joseph Carper, if you want to come up first, and then Mike Wilson and Josh Balding in sequence. We'll do those awards. And I think Chief James Evans is going to come up and help me out with this one. Is firefighter Mike Wilson. And firefighter Josh Balding. Not present from the external groups are Cody Williams from the Montgomery County Rescue, Ethan Sasser from the Montgomery County Rescue, Josh Broomer from the Burlington Fire Department, and Justin Lee from the Burlington Fire Department. So we'll issue those awards to them in private at a time in the future. In addition to those folks, Captain Mark Rasco can't be here today, but Captain Rasco heads our Criminal Investigations Division, and he was the quarterback for this operation. So he was intimate in the investigation the entire time. He recognized the importance of our relationship with external partners in Montgomery County, and he personally went to Montgomery County every single day during the recovery operation. And so for his leadership, he's being issued the Excellence in Leadership Award for his leadership, determination, and dedication for ultimately finding closure for this missing persons case. So we appreciate his efforts. Okay, let me go through a quick award for Detective Alec Shockley. He can't be here today, but I'm going to take him in sequence, otherwise I might not get back to it. So in early 2020, Detective Shockley planned and executed 2 human trafficking operations with a focus on sex trafficking. One of those operations focused on the customers, and the second was designed to identify unwilling sex traffickers and save them from the circumstances that they were in. If they were being trafficked and forced into sexual servitude, his goal was to rescue them, and so that was a fantastic operation. Often we see that we do this in other ways, and this was really designed to protect people. In both of the instances, the operation resulted in 17 physical arrests, and we had 7 sex workers who were receiving social services or counseling to help rescue them from forced sexual servitude. In both of the operational circumstances, Detective Shockley coordinated the staffing for the events, worked with other law enforcement agencies, arranged for victim services, coordinated with the sites of the operations, set up surveillance equipment and undercover chat equipment, and he made a noticeable dent in the supply and demand for internet-based prostitution and human trafficking in Alamance County. So for this effort, Detective Shockley will be awarded the Award of Excellence, and we'll present that to him at a time when he's available. The next award goes to Officer Will Ferguson. On December 6th of 2019, Officers Wright and Ferguson interacted with a camp of unsheltered individuals. They could see smoke from the road due to an illegal bonfire that the folks were using to keep warm. So they made contact with the unsheltered there, educated them about the city code, about the safety issues with having an outdoor fire like that. And they could have ended there, but they didn't. So Officer Will Wright and Officer Will Ferguson went and purchased a grill and the supplies necessary, and they delivered to these folks so that they could cook food and stay warm in as safe a manner as possible. Certainly in every opportunity where we encounter the unsheltered, we share available resources with them, but sometimes through mental illness and other reasons, they're not willing to avail themselves of those services. So in this case, they took a dangerous situation and they made it safe. They displayed their humanity as they interacted with these folks. And so Will Wright can't be with us, but I'll call forward Will Ferguson to receive this award, the Award of Excellence for his activity on December 6th of 2019. Okay. The next award goes also to Will Ferguson and Will Wright. Again, Will Wright's not here, but on April 23rd of 2020, the 2 officers combined. We're going to have to pair y'all up a little more often. It seems like good things happen when you 2 work together. These officers were on a foot patrol. Based on some internal intelligence, they kind of knew what they were looking for, or that there were some things going on, so they patrolled an area and they identified and watched a suspect as he walked up to and attempted to break into a number of unoccupied vehicles. They immediately took action. They detained the individuals. Based on their observation, 4 vehicles were found to have been tampered with. They interrupted this crime spree, this ongoing criminal enterprise basically, and they were able to take that person into custody and protect their beat area. So for their efforts, both officers are receiving a Class C commendation. I got to make him stay, so he gets one more award. I just asked him when we hired him. He said July of 19, not July, right? But July of 19. So he's been with us for about, 14, 15 months, and he's walking away with 3 awards today. So he's one of that group of incredibly energetic young police officers that are joining the force, that are passionate about helping folks. You got your master's degree, don't you? Yeah, well-educated, really highly motivated. We appreciate him and all the officers that are joining our police department these days. Fantastic work. So I think it's the last award he gets today. But this one is again for Officer Will Ferguson. On December 25th, 2019, officers were in the course. Am I in the right place? Okay. So this is a group award, and he's one of the recipients. So I just want to make sure I frame that correctly. So on December 25th, 2019, a number of officers were investigating a stolen motor vehicle, ended up at the site of a motor vehicle collision. We had telecommunicators working in the radio room, officers in the field. The incident lasted about 5 hours with a number of actions being taken. The officers that were on scene found the vehicle upside down with smoke coming from the engine. There were people trapped in the vehicle. They had to climb into and under a burning vehicle in order to help extricate a number of the occupants in the vehicle. There were people from the neighborhood arriving and creating some chaos. We had a number of outside agencies involved. We had to create a landing zone to fly out the most critically injured. The communicators established a TAC channel and coordinated between fire and EMS units. There's a significant amount of activity going on. And so for his role in this, Officer Ferguson was one of the first officers on the scene, interacted with the people in the vehicle, and so he's one of the award recipients for a Class A commendation for life-saving for pulling those people from that vehicle in these circumstances. So congratulations, Will. Okay, so let's bring up TC lead Tatiana Verdict first for her Critical Incident Response Award as part of that team that handled this really chaotic crash scene. The next award recipient is PO1 Anthony Menicini, and that's a Critical Incident Award commendation for him.
Take your mask off and hold it with your right hand. Left hand on this. Smile for
The next one is for TC Ashley Grant for her role in the communication center during this critical incident. Wind is not my friend. All right, Lee Darden, Master Police Officer Lee Darden, will you come up? You are receiving a Class A commendation for getting into that vehicle and helping save people that day. We appreciate your service. Okay, let me see if I can find all the names related to this so we make sure we give some folks credit. So for the Critical Incident Award related to that event, we'll also present plaques at a later date to Officer Carly Swiggett, Officer Scott Elliott, and Officer Matt Fitch. The two sergeants on that call that day were Sergeant Chris Edwards and Sergeant Shane Brown. They will receive the Excellence in Leadership Award when we can find them. Jack Boyles also received a Class A award for his interaction. He was first on scene and dealt with that chaotic event that Christmas Day. And let me make sure I'm not missing a TC. Additional telecommunicators for this award are Heather Cobb and Erica Smith. And I know where they work, so they're easier to find than patrol officers to pass off hardware to. So we'll find them and make sure they get their awards. I asked Lee to stay because he's the recipient of our next award. In April of 2020, Master Police Officer Lee Darden was working to revise and improve the department's line of death benefits package. You know, we're so blessed that we haven't lost a police officer since Sonny Vaughn was killed in 1938, I think. And so I pay tribute every day to our training section and the caliber of the men and women that we hire. But we want to, as a prepared agency, be ready for whatever eventualities come to pass. So Lee had a passion for this and took this on as a personal choice to update our line of duty benefits package and policy and procedures so that we know that if we have a line of duty death, we'll be able to take the best care possible of the family and the organization, quite honestly. And so for Lee's work in this project, we're giving him the Award of Excellence. One more award in absentia before I get to the next one for the people who are in queue over there. Jack Boyles is a dedicated long-term employee for us. You heard that he was just promoted to Master Police Officer within the last few months, and he was also getting a Class A award for the rescues that took place in that car crash on Christmas Day. We have another award for Jack. He responded to a runaway juvenile call. The 14-year-old was suffering from some mental health disorder, mental health issues, had previously assaulted someone, had previously attempted suicide. Officer Boyles arrived on the call and found the juvenile on the rooftop of a large industrial complex. He sat beside the young person and began having a detailed conversation with him, building rapport with the youth. After about 40 minutes of conversation, he was able to bring the child down from the rooftop safely. So Officer Boyles will be presented an Award of Excellence in the future for his activities on that call, and we appreciate, the fact that we talk about de-escalation and we use that in violent situations, but here's a circumstance where that ability just to connect at a human level with another person allowed Jack to help get this person off the roof safely. An additional award that's for Officer Alec Air. He's not present, but let me review the circumstances of this one. In March of 2020, Officer Alec Air volunteered to work a case involving the investigation and apprehension of illegally possessed firearms. He did an excellent job in writing a search warrant, and he's a young officer, so they don't do a lot of that. Our CID division, they do a lot of the search warrant writing, and so for a young patrol officer to be mentored by someone and then take up the opportunity to learn and write a search warrant for this kind of case is remarkable. So he was able to identify the felon in possession of a firearm. He completed the threat assessment, which allows us to understand the risk involved in serving the search warrant, helped develop the operational plan, executed the service of the search warrant. These are not his normal duties, and he was able to remove illegally possessed firearms from the street. So we will be presenting him with the Class C accommodation for his efforts on this case, and we appreciate that work. The next award for somebody who is here is Ryan Hamidini. So between April 1st and August 7th, 2019, Resource Exchange Association. It's a local group that assists with wounded and disabled veterans. They have a big warehouse just down the block. and they supply it with a number of tools and items, and they ship those out to folks all over the country. Ryan, as a veteran himself, I think, was able to seize onto this case and kind of make it personal, right? So he recognized and learned that they had been a victim of 33 distinct breaking and entering cases. Somebody had access to that building, and we couldn't figure out for the longest time how they were getting in. But Officer Hamidini spent hours talking with the victim, participating in inventories of stolen property, watching surveillance videos of the premise. He was so in tune with the information on this case that driving down the street one day, a car passed him going the opposite direction. He looked at the guy and said, "That's my burglar right there. That's the guy who's been breaking into that business. I know who he is. I've seen him before." Turned around on him, was able to get him identified, got pictures from his body camera, turned that over to CID. They identified him. They charged that man with 24 separate break-ins. Remarkable work. Ryan, would you come forward and get a Class C commendation for your efforts? Okay, Ryan gets to stay. He's got a little more hardware. He's not allowed to leave yet. So the next award goes to a number of individuals: Officer Ryan Hamidini, Sergeant Lori Cato, Officer Justin Wood, Mario Moore, Sergeant Travis Grogan, Michael Juarez, and Zach Burkett. I think that Travis Grogan, Michael Juarez are not present, but I think everybody else is, and we'll kind of take them in sequence. But let me tell you about the award. So in March of 2020, officers responded to a domestic violence call involving a suspect who had assaulted his girlfriend and was threatening to kill her and the 3 children in a video message. The officers obtained a warrant, and because of the suspect's history of violence, multiple officers responded to conduct a high-risk arrest warrant attempt. The officers tried to call the suspect out of the house for about 45 minutes, right? Our protocols call for us, not just barging in. If it's a contained event, we're going to call the person out to us and do it in the safest way possible. During their attempts to call out for a peaceful surrender, the suspect opened the door, was able to comply with all commands before a breach was necessary before they forced entry into the premise. All 3 children were located inside the residence unharmed, and they were returned to their mother. Because they used a tactical pause and appropriate training, the officers on the scene showed patience and allowed the suspect in crisis to calm down to a point where he was able to make a rational decision and surrender himself. So for that, Officer Hamidini first. The award is the Critical Incident Award. Sergeant Lori Cato, if you'll come up for the Critical Incident Award.
Take the mask off.
The next recipient is Master Police Officer Justin Wood for the Critical Incident Award.
Glasses off your head. Left hand on this.
The next award recipient is Police Officer 2 Mario Moore for the Critical Incident Award. And if PO1 Zach Burkett will come up. Critical incident commendation. You one or two now, Zach? You're two? One still? All right, we'll get you there. All right, Zach Burkett. As Zach stages himself for the next one, it occurs that I owe a huge debt of gratitude to my executive assistant, Rebecca Steshu. So she choreographed that these folks all come in sequence so that they didn't have to go away and then come back 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. And then the two chiefs, Brian Long and Chris Gaddis, are in the wings here too, making sure that all of this goes smoothly. So none of this happens without a ton of partners. We've got the Community Engagement Office filming and doing their work. We've got Recreation and Parks set up the stage for us and did a whole lot of work. So we really appreciate the team effort that allows this to come off as flawlessly as we've done for our first ever parking lot drive-through award ceremony. So thanks everybody for all of that. All right, Zach, your next award. So this is a group award again. It's for Officer Zach Burkett, Officer Sean Gardner, TC Lead Chris Saul, and TC2 Jared Buckner. On January 11th of 2020, officers responded to the Reliant Federal Credit Union in reference to an armed robbery with shots fired. Officer Burkett was the first officer to arrive on scene and took command, relaying information to responding officers. At the same time this was going on, telecommunicators Chris Saul and Jared Buckner worked to relay vital information to the responding officers. It was quite the scene, right, when a person storms into a bank with a rifle, I think it was that right? And cranks off a round into the ceiling and then demands, to take down the bank and rob the bank. So you can imagine how many calls we got and the conflicting information and then the chaos at the scene. So Officer Burkett observed the suspect, saw that some customers were wrestling with him, and so very quickly entered the business and detained the suspect in handcuffs. Master Police Officer Sean Gardner provided guidance to the incoming officers, ensured that a perimeter was established. You never know if there's going to be additional offenders or not. So this was a team effort. So Officer Burkett and Gardner will get the Award of Excellence. So for Zach, we'll do that one first. Master Police Officer Sean Gardner is next.
Thank you. On the table, raise your right hand, get it up to the left. Hand on the X, left hand on the front.
TC Lead Chris Saul and TC2 Jared Buckner will be receiving a Critical Incident Response Award for their performance that day. Okay, while we wait for the next group to get up here, we've got an award for Thaddeus Heinz. He's not present today, but his award is based on the following circumstances. On March 5th of 2020, Officer Heinz responded to a call in reference to a suicidal subject armed with a knife and threatening to kill herself. Officer Heinz made contact with the female in her residence, along with another occupant of the building. She was highly agitated, aggressive, admitted to abusing drugs, and was clearly suicidal. She made it very clear that she wished to die, and she held a large kitchen knife to her neck. Officer Heinz did a great job of speaking with her, remaining calm. He coordinated additional resources. He de-escalated the situation. He took his time. He was patient. He displayed his care and concern for this person. During the encounter, the family member who was present attempted to engage in some way, and that was clearly a hot button, and he recognized that and separated that individual from the circumstances so that she would continue to de-escalate, right? He did a fantastic job, followed all the training that we've been giving these officers in order to resolve these circumstances safely. He was able to get her to put the knife down. She had some injuries and didn't really want to be handcuffed, and he was at a critical point where if he rushed in and did something, he could spark her back off again. And he and the other officers present really handled it great, and he was the lead on this and remained in control. So for his efforts in that award or in that circumstance, he'll be given a Class A commendation that he literally saved her life. She had the knife to her throat and was actively going to kill herself, and he saved her. So a Class A commendation for that. So congratulations, Officer Heinz, for that. Okay, the next award that we'll be presenting today is Dakira Delgado, a new officer for us. On April 13th of 2020, she responded to a call regarding a man that had wandered away from his residence. He was believed to have had a seizure. She located the subject, and while speaking with him, he lost consciousness, passed out, and hit his face on the ground. She immediately rendered aid, called for additional resources. She found that he had stopped breathing, and she began CPR. She was able to conduct CPR until EMS and fire assets arrived. The man was transported to the hospital, and he made a full recovery. So her timing was impeccable as she found him, located him, and then revived him from whatever his medical emergency was. So for her specific assistance in saving this man's life, it's my absolute honor to present her with a Class A life-saving award. Okay, the next award goes to Officer Bobby Davis. Beginning in January and continuing through March of 2020, Master Police Officer Bobby Davis worked diligently implementing a new Crime Stoppers program called P3. MPO Davis located funding for this program, identified the software, became the administrator, got his own training that allowed him to then train all of the Burlington Police Department telecommunicators, record staff, and even department heads across the county, because our Crime Stoppers operation is a regional operation. And so in his role as our community outreach officer, Master Police Officer Bobby Davis interacts with a broad swath of the population, including those other professional agencies. So he implemented this program that's remarkable. It allows a substantial amount of connectivity. I think they do tips through it, and photos and all those things are available. And so based on this project, Master Police Officer Bobby Davis is being given an award of excellence for his work. Fantastic. We're winding down. I've got two more. I think they are both going to be awarded in absentia, but let me go through these so we recognize the performance of these folks. A number of years ago, Greg Seal was an assistant chief here, and he retired, and he's hung around, thankfully. He brings a remarkable set of skills to us as a retired assistant chief, and currently what he does is he runs our volunteer program. We're going to give him an award of excellence for his outstanding contributions and coordination with the Alamance Burlington school system. They jointly run a job shadowing program. Through this program, we've had 25 different high school students spend time with officers and employees here in the Burlington Police Department. Makes a remarkable impact on these young people's lives. It gives them a nice job reference downrange, and it's a fantastic program. So Greg coordinates that. He does a great job, and he'll get an award of excellence for that performance. And then our last award of the afternoon is to Angela Satterfield. She's our hiring and recruitment employees. She does a fantastic job. In 2020, she coordinated recruiting events, advertising, recruiting, hiring, all of our professional staff, our police officers. You know, and then we hit COVID right in March, and we're like, how do we recruit? How do we do site interviews? How do we do all that stuff? And so with a group of folks around her, Angela adapted and morphed and understood the safety protocols and made modifications to hiring practice. We continue to hire in a robust manner. We're always looking for new qualified employees. She was able to hire for the last Police Academy class 6 cadets. They're in school right now. They're doing a fantastic job. And because of her efforts, we're awarding her a Class C commendation. She'll get that in the next few weeks. A Class C accommodation to Angela Satterfield for her work with recruitment. So as we're winding down, a big round of applause for all of our reward recipients today. Thank you again to our elected officials and my boss, Hardin Watkins, for being here. The support staff have been fantastic. You know, we started to conceive this drive-through award ceremony, I don't know, a month and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer. And we did so with a little bit of trepidation, but it's been fantastic. So we look forward to seeing everybody maybe in person in the spring for our next award ceremony. I'm sure we'll have a number of promotions and awards to give out again. So thank you all for your dedicated service to the city of Burlington.